I'm going to round off this series on multilines by looking at some of the additional tools and techniques you can use. Let's take a look first at the uncut component lines, which we haven't looked at yet. First, we need to make a cut. So I'll use the cut all component lines, and I'll simply select and drag an opening in that existing line. Now we try the uncut. Now, this tool has a little quirk to it, and that is you don't start the tool first. You actually select the line first before starting the tool. That's not particularly obvious. So we'll start the element selection tool, select the line, and then start the tool. And our line is uncut. If you try it the other way, let me undo that, it doesn't work. So we start the tool first and select the line, nothing happens. So just remember, you have to select the line first and then the tool. And everything works just fine. Now, of course, many of the standard tools in your toolbox work on multilines as well. For example, the Modify Element tool works exactly the same as a standard line. And really, a multiline is a standard line. It simply has extra elements in it. So that works just the same. The Delete Part of Element tool there also works, but it's essentially the same as the multiline partial delete tool. Works exactly the same way. Select, drag, partial delete. It does put end caps on the deletion, which is a nice feature, as in fact does the multiline partial delete. The only significant difference is that using the partial delete tool, the end caps are automatic, whereas with the multiline partial delete tool, you do have options for the end caps. Now, one thing about using the partial delete tool is that you cannot heal this gap at all. So you must be a little cautious about that. I'm going to heal it by using Ctrl-Z. That's not normally an option after having placed the line or several lines after the fact. So be a little cautious in its use. Now, as you know, the Extend Line tool works perfectly well on multilines. I used that in an earlier video. And so does the Insert Vertex. That tool works very well. And of course, the Delete Vertex tool works also. That can be quite useful sometimes. And in addition, all of the tools on the Manipulate toolbox, this one, work quite nicely on multilines, with the one exception of the Scale tool, which, while scaling the length of the multiline segments, has no effect on the width of the multilines. Next, let's take a closer look at matching multiline styles, which is something you do quite often. I mentioned this before, but it's worth looking at again. Here's the Match Multiline tool, and we have the option of matching multiline caps as well in the Tool Settings window. We'll leave that off for the moment. Now, right now, my current multiline style is the interior wall, but I want to match this one, the exterior walls. Left click on that, and now I can draw a multiline with the outside wall style. Try this again. Start the Match tool. Now I select this one and draw again, and now I'm drawing with the match style. So it's very quick to switch between multiline styles so long as they exist in your drawing. As a matter of interest, you can also use the Match All Element Settings, or Smart Match, to do the same job. Now, in a sort of reverse of that process, we can use the Change Multiline tool to change an existing multiline to the current active style. Now, if you remember, that is the current active style, so I need to change this one to the current active. While I'm at it, I can make adjustments if I need to. I can change the offset, which is the placement of the line, from the existing placement to a new placement. I can adjust the end cap angle if I need to, or I can change the scale of the style, which changes the width of the style again, but not the length. Let's do that right now. Try a 2x scale. We won't change the offset. Let's select this, and it's changed to the current style, and it's now twice as wide. Now you might notice that when we activated the tool here, it also activated there as well, which happens of course because they are both the same tools. Now you've obviously seen how important it is to be able to switch easily between multi-line styles. And in production work, this becomes a necessity because you're likely to be dealing with many different multi-line styles. There are several ways you can access different styles, which may or may not be part of the current drawing you're working on. The first is copy and paste, where you simply copy a segment of a multi-line in one drawing and paste that segment into your current drawing. You then use the Match Multi-Line Attributes tool to match the imported segment. And from there, you can continue drawing and placing multi-lines with that definition. Now, ideally, the working units of your current file and the file from which you took the segment are identical. If not, you can still import the definition. You may need to make alterations to the offset values once the definition is imported. Another method is to create a seed file that contains the multi-line segments of your set of definitions. Then when you open a new design with that seed file, the multi-line definitions will be part of the new drawing. Now the same goes of course for all other types of definitions, particularly dimensions and text. That could also be saved in that same seed file. Another method is MicroStation's settings files, which is a facility that saves a variety of design settings, including multi-lines. We'll be taking a look at settings files in later videos. And the last method to discuss is saving multi-line styles. Again, very similar to saving styles of text or dimensions. Let's take a look at that right now. So I'm going to start the Place Multi-Line tool, open the multi-line style box, and we see that we have the interior wall definition currently active. To save the style, click on the Style menu and click on New. The untitled style pops into place. We will call this Interior. And now we have saved that interior style. We can do the same for the exterior. So we'll click on the Match tool, match this definition, which now puts the exterior walls in place. Let's save that as exterior. Now we have both styles saved. So having done that, in this particular file, any other drawing file can now access these saved styles, which of course you would do again through the Style menu, and you would import. An import would take you to the folder views. You would select this particular file as the source, and having selected that, the two saved styles would now be located in your new drawing file. So that's a very effective way of doing things. Again, you could dedicate a specific drawing file just for saving styles, such as this. And then every time you open a new drawing, you simply import all the available styles from that dedicated file. Whether you use all of them or not is entirely up to you, of course, but you will have all those styles available in any other drawing file. Now again, later on in this course, we'll look very carefully at methods of customizing MicroStation to save and use styles that can be accessed by any design file. And one last thing, you may have noticed that the Place Multi-Line tool will only place line strings. You cannot place arcs or any other form of element. This is somewhat of a limitation. And to place similar types of custom line styles, such as multi-lines, you need different tools. And in fact, the next set of videos describe that, where we discuss creating custom line styles, which will mimic multi-line styles, which can be placed with any of the element placement tools. So, as always, please practice, experiment with different definitions and different placements, and experiment with the editing tools, which are just as important as the placement tools.